This is 5 on your side at 6. Focused on you.
Tonight, the number of casualties continues to rise on day 5 of the Israel-Hamas war. At least 24 Americans are among the thousands killed, dozens more are missing. Bombing in Gaza continues in retaliation to the attacks from the Palestinian militant group. And an estimated 150 people are being held hostage by Hamas. Good evening, I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Mike Bush. As the war wages on, both Jewish and Palestinian communities are facing an uncertain future. For Palestinians living in the West Bank, this war highlights the differing views between not only Israel, but the separate governing systems that rule their people. 5 on your side's Holden Kerwicki spoke with Palestinian Americans today in the Metro East to get their view about the ongoing war. Holden?
Well, Mike and Ann, there are about 250,000 Palestinians currently living in the United States. Those that I spoke with told me they came to America to escape the poverty and violence in the region. They want peace, which has largely in an area that has largely been fighting since the end of World War II.
Since war broke out between Israel and Hamas, Palestinian Americans like Saddam and Milad Ahmed have stayed glued to their phones.
It's emotional, you know.
It's bad. I hope this has never happened, you know.
In Islam, we don't condone killing innocents. No elderly, no kids, no women.
They're making multiple calls per day to check on their family, which still lives in the West Bank.
And on the safety side, they're not safe.
As military-aged men, they can't simply go home.
The last time I went was a few years ago through Ben Gurion, and I got held up for 11 hours. Interrogated 3 times. When I leave, I get strip searched, down to my boxers. I mean, how would it make you feel?
They left their homeland behind years ago to escape the violence that has become all too common under what they call an apartheid system.
There are innocent people dying every day, even before this war. But you'd never hear about it.
While Gaza is ruled by Hamas and opposed to Israel,
Gaza, it's just an open-air prison, closed off from the world.
their West Bank home is governed by the Fatah, which holds a tenuous relationship with Israel and opposes Hamas.
They're all puppets, man. They're good for nothing. You know I'm going to anger a lot of Palestinians saying that.
As the fighting continues, they're continuing to pray for peace, not only for their people, but the entire region.
I hope it ends today, you know.
I'm sure there's Israelis, I'm sure there's Palestinians that would love to live in peace like they lived for hundreds of years in Jerusalem and those parts. They've lived, for hundreds of years peacefully. I mean, make it a one state.
Egypt and multiple international groups have been calling for humanitarian corridors to get aid into Gaza, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to crush the remaining remnants of Hamas with the Israeli military after cutting off food, water, and electricity. And
we are taking a live look right now at a solidarity gathering in support of Israel. The Jewish Federation of St. Louis is hosting a community gathering with other partners. Organizers say it's a time for people to come together and support one another as the war continues. Laura Barczewski will have more on this gathering coming up tonight at 10.
A promising update from one couple from their area. Jenny Rowe Beck tells 5 on your side that her parents are on their way home from Israel. Danny and Carmen Rowe from Godfrey, Illinois were visiting the Holy Land with their church when the war broke out. Their daughter told us they were stuck in Tel Aviv waiting for a flight out of Israel. The Rowes were able to catch a flight to Greece before connecting to Germany. The couple was boarding a plane to Paris earlier today, but the long journey home continues. They still have another 25 hours of layovers before they can make it back to St. Louis, but they're on their way.
Members of Congress are showing overwhelming support for Israel, but the House can't send any aid or weapons until it elects a speaker. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, has new details on how this conflict raises the stakes in a local race for Congress. Mark.
And Republican Congressman Mike Boss says he's backing House Majority Leader Steve Scalise for a speaker bid after Scalise wrapped up a majority of support in the conference in a private meeting earlier today. His primary challenger back home, Darren Bailey, says that support amounts to a betrayal of Donald Trump. Trump was backing Jim Jordan. But Bailey's own past is now coming into question as well, as both candidates pledge their support for Israel.
It's really, really important that this Congress get back to work.
Speaker-designate Steve Scalise called on his colleagues to show urgency in the face of violence unraveling in Israel.
We see how dangerous of a world it is and how things can change so quickly.
Scalise said the Senate could take up a portion of aid the House already passed before it deposed former Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
In that legislation, including the State and Foreign Ops Bill, the Defense Appropriations Bill, includes funding for Israel, things like Iron Dome, precision-guided missiles, things that could be used today to help them in this war.
Congressman Mike Bost wouldn't reveal how he voted in private, but when the House holds a public vote,
I guarantee you that now I will be voting for Steve Scalise on the floor.
Why was Donald Trump wrong to back Jim Jordan?
Well, I don't say that Donald Trump was wrong. I won't say that.
Bost has been taking heat back home from his primary challenger, Darren Bailey, who accused him of betraying Donald Trump in favor of Scalise and the establishment against Jim Jordan, the founder of the Freedom Caucus.
The only thing about Jim Jordan is, that he is a very, very good conservative, and he's also on a committee where he is doing the investigation on Hunter Biden and the president at this time, and he has some inside track that is amazing, and he's doing an excellent job there.
Bost hit back at Bailey, pointing to this photo op foible from Bailey's time on the campaign trail running for governor.
And you don't stand in front of a map that takes Israel off the map, and that is a problem.
Bailey called it disappointing that Bost would, quote, use these cowardly terrorist attacks on Israel to score cheap political points. I
do question if you claim you're 100% for Israel and you meet with a group that wants to see Israel completely taken out. But I don't know how else you can explain that.
Bailey took offense that Bost would question his faith. Bost said he never meant to do that, just questioned the policy. Both men said they've visited the Holy Lands and fully support Israel.
For the latest news on the Israel-Hamas war, text the word Israel to 314-425-5355.
The St. Louis Reparations Commission is asking tonight for new recommendations before the end of the year. Mayor Tashara Jones selected the Reparations Commission nearly 1 year ago, and tonight they'll meet as part of a series of meetings to collect more data for a final report. 5 on Your Side's Diamond Palmer spoke to one of the commission's leading members today, and Diamond reports on what progress has been made. Diamond?
The Reparations Commission has had several meetings since it was formed in March 2023. The commission has made progress when it comes to collecting data about the inequalities that Black residents face here in our city. But now they're calling on the public one more time for help on what the direct payments would look like.
We're not going to move our city forward until we have some healing.
Dr. Will Ross says that means racial healing.
And that racial healing means that we have to afford the resources, the appropriate resources. It has to be some allocation of resources, really to address the harm that's been done for decades, for centuries.
Since March 2023, Ross has served and helped lead the commission with 8 others. Through working on WashU's medical campus, he discovered more inequalities African Americans face.
There's a major discrepancy in the income between African Americans and other groups.
Because of this, he says it's making it hard for the commission to define payments. So far, he says residents have recommended reparations, including being able to trace your lineage of a certain number of years for payments of $25,000.
We're still looking at practices across the country, and we still haven't defined what reparations will really mean.
Ross says dozens of residents continue to voice their concerns at meetings, including James Gallagher from Mill Creek, who says his family endured toxic chemicals.
I'm the patriarch of my family on both sides. It's just nothing can make up because the damage done.
Ross says he's confident the city could make reparations happen, but looking to cities in Illinois and California where legislation has passed.
We're going to continue to meet until end of December. And starting in January, we, the commission, will come together to start drafting the report.
Tonight's meeting has already started at 6 p.m. and it is being held virtually, but residents will still get the chance to hear from the commission about this data they've collected for many months. The next chance for an in-person meeting won't be until October 28th. Reporting live here in downtown St. Louis, Diamond Palmer, 5 on Your Side.